Have you been feeling out of place lately? Like you're standing in a room you've outgrown but don't know how to leave? Have you caught yourself laughing less, smiling less, and wondering when you became so unrecognizable to yourself? Have you felt the pull to change everything, but feared losing what little certainty you have? Are you constantly tired, not from doing too much, but from holding back who you really are? Does it feel like you're slowly disappearing, even though nothing outside has collapsed yet? If so, don't panic. You might not be falling apart. You might be waking up. You might be on the first fragile steps of becoming. That ache in your chest, that confusion in your bones, that's not failure. That's the sound of old armor cracking. Because what you're going through isn't dysfunction, it's transformation. And I know no one told you it would feel this way. Because we've all been sold a half-truth. That becoming your true self is peaceful. That healing is soft. That authenticity brings calm. But what if that story is incomplete? Let's talk about the side of becoming that no one writes about. The part that's loud, messy, inconvenient. The part that feels like loss before it feels like liberation. Because maybe, just maybe, you're not broken, you're becoming. From a young age, we were praised for disappearing. We were rewarded for being easy to manage, for being agreeable, predictable, pleasant, not honest, not whole, not fully alive. We learned to read the room instead of reading our own feelings. We learned to anticipate needs instead of expressing our own. We learned to stay quiet so others could stay comfortable. And each time we did, the self got quieter. Until one day we woke up and couldn't hear it at all. Not joy, not desire, not even grief, just silence, just performance. You're not broken for forgetting who you are. You were just incredibly good at surviving. But surviving isn't the same as living. And eventually something inside you will refuse to keep pretending. At some point, the strategies that kept you safe become the very thing that keeps you small. You say yes when you want to scream no. You show up when your soul begs you to rest. You give because you don't know how to ask. And on the outside, you look fine. You look functional, successful, admired. But inside, something's missing. Not passion, not purpose, not even clarity. Something deeper. A connection to your own aliveness. A sense that your actions mean something because they are true. When you realize you've built a life around performance, you also realize something devastating. No one really knows you because you never showed them the real you. How could they love the truth if you only gave them the mask? Why is becoming so hard? Because the world is built on your silence. Your silence keeps the workplace efficient. Your silence keeps the family legacy intact. Your silence makes you manageable. But when you begin to speak, when you start saying no, when you challenge assumptions, when you stop apologizing for existing, you become a disruption. And systems don't like disruptions. They will call you selfish. They will call you too sensitive, too angry, too much. Because if you're not afraid to be yourself, you threaten everyone who is. No one warns you about the grief, not just grief for what you lost, but grief for who you used to be. You'll miss the comfort of knowing your place, even if that place was too small. You'll miss the belonging of old rooms, even if those rooms required your silence. You'll even miss the mask, because at least the mask made things easier to navigate. Now you walk in truth, and truth is not always welcome. So yes, you'll grieve, and you should. Because to become yourself, you have to mourn every version that pretended to be okay. Waking up to your real self can feel like dying. Because in some ways it is. It's the death of the persona. The death of the good girl, the strong man, the agreeable employee. It's the death of every identity you built to be loved. But here's the miracle. What dies is only what was never true to begin with. And what remains? Something wilder, something freer, something so familiar it feels like coming home. But before the homecoming, there is exile. And exile is terrifying. You will walk alone. You will be misunderstood. You will feel lost in the world you once fit perfectly into. But fitting in was never the point. Belonging to yourself is. Wholeness is dangerous because a whole person is hard to manipulate. They don't seek external validation. They don't obey out of fear. They don't shapeshift to keep the peace. A whole person is inconvenient. They challenge, they question, they disrupt. And so society teaches you to confuse wholeness with rebellion, to pathologize truth, to make authenticity look like arrogance. Because when people wake up, the system loses control. So yes, becoming yourself will cost you. It will cost your roles, it will cost your predictability, it may cost your reputation, but it will give you back your soul. Becoming is lonely. Not because you're unworthy of connection, but because most people only know how to connect with your mask. When you remove it, you start to see who's really there for you, and who was only there for the version you created to survive. That hurts, but it also clarifies, because in the space left behind by false intimacy, you make room for something rare, real connection. Connection with yourself, with others who don't need you to shrink, with a world that doesn't require your abandonment as the price of entry. If you're tired, bone tired, not from doing too much, but from pretending, you're not broken. If you feel numb, disconnected, disoriented, you're not lost. You're in transition. If you feel like you're grieving something you can't name, that's your former self dissolving. If you feel like disappearing, that's your soul begging to be found. If you feel like exploding, that's your truth trying to find a voice. Let it. Let the ache guide you. Let the silence reveal you. Let the discomfort rebirth you. You're not failing. You're becoming. No one claps for this part. There's no certificate for unbecoming who the world told you to be. But there is something better. The quiet knowing that you no longer need to beg for space. That you no longer fear being too much. That you no longer live on approval like it's oxygen. Because now you breathe on your own. You walk on your own. You rise on your own. And somewhere in the wreckage of your former life, a new one begins. Not perfectly, not easily, but truthfully. So if you're in the middle of the mess, the doubt, the grief, the fire, you are not broken. You are becoming. And that is the most dangerous, sacred, powerful thing you could ever do. Welcome home.